This is an abomination. Because of this your problem, the marriage will be over.
Thank you. Please.
Uncle, I'm not God.
No, you're not.
I'm not God.
But I am
Sit down
begging
there.
for your forgiveness because I did not mean to
Every
lie
time
to you.
forgiveness. How many times I will forgive you?
The moment Daniel's uncle says the words, the air in the room turns heavy, almost electric, as if everyone's fate just shifted in a single breath. Lisa's face drains of color, her hands start to tremble, and you can see her chest rising and falling faster with every second. Daniel stands frozen, eyes wide, lips parted, as if he's just watched his entire future slip through his fingers. The uncle's voice echoes, final and cold, and for a split second, nobody moves. Lisa tries to speak, but her voice catches, and all that comes out is a gasp, sharp and desperate, like she's drowning in the silence. Daniel doesn't reach for her, doesn't say a word, just stares at the floor, jaw clenched, as if he's trying to hold himself together with sheer willpower. The uncle's chair scrapes against the tile as he stands, and the sound is so loud it makes Lisa flinch. She looks at Daniel, searching for any sign of comfort, but he's locked in place, and the distance between them feels wider than ever. If you're new here, I'm Oliva, and this is Reality Sport, where we break down the wildest moments in reality TV with zero filter. If you're as shocked as I am, hit subscribe and drop your hottest take in the comments, because this story is about to get even messier. Lisa's panic is raw, almost physical, as she clutches her hands together, trying to steady her breathing. Her eyes dart around the room, looking for an escape, but there's nowhere to go. The uncle's words keep replaying in her head, each one heavier than the last. Daniel finally looks up, and for a second, their eyes meet. But there's no comfort there, only fear and regret. The silence stretches, thick and suffocating, until Lisa can't take it anymore. She stands up so quickly her chair nearly tips over, and she stumbles toward the door, desperate for air, for space, for anything that isn't this crushing disappointment. But before she can leave, the memories come rushing back, sharp and unforgiving. Just days ago, Lisa was hopeful, maybe even a little cocky, thinking she could handle whatever Daniel's family threw at her. She'd rehearsed her story, convinced herself that honesty would be enough, that love could bridge any gap. Daniel had promised her that his uncle would understand, that family was everything, and if they showed respect, they'd get his blessing. But Lisa's secrets were never small. Years of hiding, of half-truths and omissions, all bundled up and waiting to explode. She'd been married before, not once, but 5 times. She'd loved women, lived openly in America, but never dared to share that part of herself here. She thought she could control the narrative, but the truth has a way of slipping out when you least expect it. Daniel's dreams were always bigger than his fears. He saw Lisa as his ticket to a new life, a chance to build something real in America, to escape the weight of tradition and expectation. But now, with his uncle's blessing ripped away, every plan he made feels like a cruel joke. The family meeting was supposed to be a formality, a chance to show respect, to prove their intentions. Instead, it's become a battlefield, with Lisa and Daniel caught in the crossfire of old values and new desires. Family honor isn't just a word here. It's a currency, and Daniel's uncle guards it like a fortress. For him, Lisa's past isn't just a personal failing, it's a stain on the family name, a threat to everything he's worked to protect. The cultural clash is brutal, unforgiving, and there's no easy way out. Lisa's dreams of love and acceptance are crashing headfirst into a wall of tradition, and Daniel is stuck in the middle, torn between the woman he loves and the family he can't afford to lose. The car ride to Daniel's uncle's house feels like a countdown to disaster, every mile heavier than the last. Lisa sits rigid in the passenger seat, hands clenched so tight her knuckles turn white, eyes fixed on the blur of the city outside. She tries to steady her breathing, but every bump in the road jolts her nerves. Daniel keeps his eyes on the road, jaw set, fingers drumming on the steering wheel, in a rhythm that betrays his own nerves. The silence between them is thick, broken only by the hum of the engine and the occasional sigh that slips out when Lisa thinks he isn't listening. Lisa's mind races with every possible scenario, replaying the conversation she's about to have with a man who holds her future in his hands. She wonders if honesty will be enough, if her past will be forgiven, or if she's already lost before she even steps through the door. She glances at Daniel, searching for reassurance, but his face is unreadable, a mask of calm that doesn't match the tension in his shoulders. She wants to ask him if he's sure about this, if he's ready to fight for her, but the words get stuck in her throat. Every time she tries to speak, she remembers the look on his face when he first learned the truth, the way his dreams seemed to flicker and fade in an instant. Daniel's thoughts are a storm of hope and fear, love and calculation. He tells himself he loves Lisa, that he wants to build a life with her, but there's a part of him that can't ignore what's at stake. The promise of a new life in America, the chance to escape the weight of family expectations, it's all tied up in this one meeting. He wonders if he's strong enough to stand by Lisa when things get ugly, or if he'll fold under the pressure. He knows his uncle is a gatekeeper, a man who values tradition above all else, and Daniel's never been good at disappointing his family. The closer they get, the more he feels the walls closing in, the pressure mounting with every passing second. Neither of them knows what will happen when they walk through that door. Will the uncle see Lisa's heart, or only her history? Will Daniel find the courage to defend her, or will he let fear decide for him? The questions hang in the air, unanswered and urgent, as the car pulls up to the house and the world outside goes silent for just a moment. The front door swings open, and Daniel's uncle steps into the room, every inch of him radiating authority. He doesn't need to raise his voice or make a scene. His presence alone is enough to command attention. He greets Daniel with a nod, barely glancing at Lisa, and settles into his chair like a judge about to deliver a verdict. The air shifts, thick with expectation, and even Daniel seems to shrink a little under his uncle's gaze. Lisa sits on the edge of her seat, hands folded in her lap, trying to look respectful, but her nerves betray her. She can feel the weight of every secret pressing down on her, every mistake she's ever made suddenly magnified in this tiny living room. Daniel clears his throat, voice barely above a whisper at first, then steadies himself. He starts with the basics, explaining that he's brought Lisa here because he wants to marry her, that she's the woman he loves. The uncle listens, face unreadable, but his eyes never leave Daniel's. There's a pause, a moment where it almost seems like things might go smoothly, but then Daniel's voice falters. He hesitates, glances at Lisa, and the truth comes tumbling out. He admits he didn't know everything about Lisa's past, that she's been married before, more times than she first said. He stumbles over the words, trying to soften the blow, but there's no way to make it sound better. The room goes quiet. The only sound is Lisa's shaky breath. Lisa knows this is her moment, her one chance to explain. She leans forward, voice trembling but determined, and tells the uncle she's sorry for not being honest from the start. She tries to explain that her life in America was different, that things aren't always so simple, that she never meant to disrespect him or the family. She admits she's made mistakes, but insists she loves Daniel and wants to make things right. Her words hang in the air, desperate and raw. But the uncle's expression doesn't change. He listens, but his eyes are cold, and Lisa can feel her hope slipping away with every second. The uncle's reaction is swift and brutal. His face twists in shock, then hardens into anger. He asks Daniel if he knew about Lisa's past, if he understands what this means for their family. He turns to Lisa, voice sharp, and tells her that her history is an abomination, that she's brought shame into his home. The words hit like a slap, and Lisa flinches, tears welling in her eyes. The uncle's disgust is palpable, his disappointment cutting deeper than any insult. He tells Daniel that marrying Lisa would be a disgrace, that he cannot give his blessing. Not now, not ever. Lisa's desperation spills over. She pleads with the uncle, begging for forgiveness, promising to do whatever it takes to make amends. She says she's changed, that her past is behind her, that she only wants a chance to prove herself. But the uncle shakes his head, unmoved, and tells her that some things cannot be forgiven, that respect and honesty are not negotiable. The room feels colder, smaller, as Lisa's pleas echo off the walls and fade into silence. Lisa's breath comes in short, ragged bursts as the uncle's words settle over her like a heavy blanket she can't shake off. Her hands tremble uncontrollably, and her vision blurs as panic claws at her chest. She tries to steady herself, but the room feels like it's closing in, every eye on her, every judgment sharper than the last. The uncle doesn't flinch, doesn't soften, not even for a second. He sits back, arms crossed, his face a mask of disappointment and finality. He tells Lisa that her tears won't change anything, that her choices have consequences, and that she alone is responsible for the shame she's brought into his home. The words sting, but what hurts more is the coldness in his voice, the way he looks through her as if she's already gone. Daniel watches Lisa unravel, torn between the urge to comfort her and the fear of defying his uncle. He feels the weight of every expectation pressing down on him, the dreams he's built with Lisa now slipping through his fingers. He wants to reach out, to tell her it will be okay, but he can't find the words. His uncle's pride is legendary, and Daniel knows that once a decision is made, it's almost impossible to reverse. The fear of disappointing his family, of being cast out or shamed in the community, is almost as strong as his desire to protect Lisa. He stands frozen, caught between two worlds, unable to move in either direction. The uncle's pride is more than personal, it's a shield against the judgment of the entire community. He worries about what people will say, how they'll look at him if he allows this marriage to go forward. The thought of being the man who let shame into his family is unbearable, and he refuses to bend, even as Lisa's sobs fill the room. He tells Daniel that family honor is not for sale, not even for love, not even for dreams of a better life. The message is clear, tradition comes first, and anyone who threatens that order is cast out. Lisa's panic spirals, her breaths coming faster, her hands clutching at her chest as if she can hold herself together by force. Daniel's silence is deafening, and the uncle's resolve is unbreakable. The fallout from this confrontation is only beginning, and the choices they make next will define everything that comes after. Lisa drops to her knees, her voice cracking as she begs for another chance, her words tumbling out in a rush. She promises she'll do anything, that she'll prove herself, that she's not the person the uncle thinks she is. Her desperation fills the room, raw and unfiltered, but the uncle's eyes narrow with suspicion. He's seen apologies before, heard promises that were broken, and he's not about to be swayed by tears or pleas. He tells Lisa that trust, once shattered, is almost impossible to rebuild, especially when the family's reputation is on the line. He questions her motives, wonders aloud if she's only saying what she thinks he wants to hear, if this is all just another performance to win his approval. Daniel steps forward, his own voice shaking as he joins Lisa in pleading for forgiveness. He tells his uncle that he loves Lisa, that he believes in her, that everyone deserves a second chance. He tries to remind his uncle of the times he's been forgiven, of the mistakes that were overlooked in the name of family. But the uncle is unmoved, his suspicion growing with every word. He accuses Daniel of being blinded by emotion, of risking everything for a woman he barely knows, of putting his own desires above the family's honor. The tension in the room is suffocating. Every word a challenge, every plea met with a wall of doubt. The uncle warns them that if they continue to push, if they refuse to accept his decision, he'll have no choice but to take the matter to the elders. He says the family's reputation is too important to be decided by one man, that the community must have a say in what happens next. The threat hangs in the air, heavy and ominous, a reminder that the stakes are bigger than any one person's happiness. Lisa's hope flickers, But she refuses to give up, clinging to the belief that someone, somewhere, will see her for who she is and not just what she's done. Daniel's heart pounds as he realizes how quickly things are spiraling out of control. The power struggle isn't just between Lisa and the uncle, but between old values and new possibilities, between forgiveness and pride. The next move could change everything, and nobody knows which way the scales will tip. Lisa's voice is barely more than a whisper as she lowers herself even further, her pride stripped away in front of people who hold her fate in their hands. She begs for forgiveness, her words shaky, her eyes pleading, her dignity sacrificed for a chance at acceptance. The humiliation burns in her cheeks, but she keeps going, desperate to prove she's more than her past, desperate to show she's worthy of a second chance. Every apology feels heavier than the last, and the silence that follows is almost unbearable. She looks up at Daniel, searching for support, and finds him already pleading his own case. Daniel's words come fast, tumbling over each other as he promises his uncle that Lisa has changed, that she's sincere, that he's never loved anyone like this before. He swears he'll take responsibility, that he'll make sure the family isn't shamed, that he'll do whatever it takes to restore their honor. His desperation is clear, his voice cracking under the weight of everything he stands to lose. He tries to remind his uncle of the good Lisa has brought into his life, of the happiness he's found, but the uncle's face remains unreadable, his eyes fixed on the floor. For a moment, it seems like nothing will break through the uncle's resolve. He sits in silence, weighing the pleas against the risk, the hope against the shame. Then, almost reluctantly, he speaks. He says that, while he cannot forgive Lisa on his own, there may be a way forward. But it won't be easy. The decision, he says, is too big for one man. If Lisa and Daniel want another chance, they'll have to face the elders, the spiritual leaders who guard the family's traditions and values. Only they have the authority to grant forgiveness. Only they can decide if the marriage can go ahead. The hint of hope is almost as painful as the rejection that came before. Lisa's relief is mixed with dread, knowing that her humiliation isn't over, that she'll have to plead her case all over again, this time in front of even more people. Daniel squeezes her hand, his own fear barely hidden, as they realize the fight for their future is only just beginning. Lisa stands at the edge of the courtyard, her heart pounding so loudly she's sure everyone can hear it. The sun is high, casting sharp shadows across the ground, and the air is thick with the kind of anticipation that makes every breath feel like a risk. She's never felt so exposed, so complete at the mercy of people who barely know her but hold the power to decide her future. The elders are already gathered, their faces solemn, their eyes sharp and unblinking. The rest of the family stands behind them, a silent wall of judgment and tradition. Daniel is at her side, but even his presence feels distant, as if he's already being pulled in two directions by forces bigger than either of them. The elders begin with questions, their voices calm, but their words cutting straight to the heart of every secret Lisa has tried to bury. They ask about her marriages, about her life in America, about the choices she made and the reasons she kept them hidden. Lisa answers as honestly as she can, her voice steady even as her hands shake. She explains that her past was complicated, that she never meant to deceive anyone, that she only wanted a chance to start over. She tells them about her love for Daniel, about the hope she found in him, about the dreams they built together. Every answer feels like a test, every pause a judgment, and Lisa can feel the weight of every eye on her, measuring her worth, deciding if she deserves forgiveness. Daniel stands beside her, his loyalty on full display, but the pressure is almost too much. He's asked to speak, to explain why he wants to marry Lisa, why he believes she deserves another chance. He talks about love, about second chances, about the courage it takes to admit mistakes and ask for forgiveness. He says he's willing to risk everything for Lisa, even if it means going against his family, even if it means losing the life he's always known. The words hang in the air, bold and defiant. But Daniel's voice wavers at the edges, betraying the fear he tries so hard to hide. The elders listen, their faces unreadable, their silence stretching longer with every answer. They talk among themselves in low voices, their words too quiet to catch, and Lisa feels her hope slipping away with every second. She wonders if anything she says will ever be enough, if her past will always be a shadow she can't escape. The community watches from a distance, their whispers swirling around her like a storm. Some look at her with pity, others with suspicion, and a few with open hostility. Lisa knows she's not just fighting for herself, but for Daniel, for the chance to prove that love can survive even the harshest judgment. The spiritual leaders step forward, their authority absolute. They remind everyone that forgiveness is not given lightly, that tradition must be respected, that the family's honor is at stake. They ask Lisa if she truly understands what she's asking for, if she's willing to accept the consequences of her actions, if she's prepared to live by the rules of their community. Lisa nods, her voice clear and unwavering, and promises to do whatever it takes to make things right. She says she's not running from her past anymore, that she's ready to face whatever comes next, that she's willing to earn their trust one day at a time. Daniel's loyalty is tested in ways he never imagined. The elders ask him if he's prepared to stand by Lisa, even if it means losing his family, if he's willing to accept the shame that might come with defying tradition. Daniel hesitates, the weight of the question pressing down on him, but then he looks at Lisa and finds his answer. He says he loves her, that he's willing to fight for her, that he believes in forgiveness and second chances. The words are simple, but the conviction in his voice is enough to make even the elders pause. The community's role is impossible to ignore. Their approval or rejection will shape Lisa and Daniel's future, and everyone knows it. The elders remind the crowd that forgiveness is a gift, not a right, and that the decision will affect not just Lisa and Daniel, but the entire family. The tension is thick, every eye fixed on the elders as they prepare to deliver their verdict. Lisa's resolve is tested to its breaking point, but she stands tall, refusing to let fear dictate her fate. The spiritual leaders confer one last time, their voices low and serious. The silence stretches, every second feeling like an eternity. Finally, the eldest among them steps forward, his gaze steady and unyielding. He tells Lisa that forgiveness is possible, but it will not come easily. She must prove herself, not just with words, but with actions, over time. The family will watch, the community will judge, and only then will she truly earn her place. The decision is not a full acceptance, but it's not a rejection either. It's a challenge, a chance, a path forward that will demand everything Lisa has left to give. Daniel breathes out, relief and anxiety mixing in his eyes. Lisa feels a strange sense of hope, fragile but real, as if the worst might finally be behind her. But the elders' warning lingers in the air. One misstep, one broken promise, and everything could be lost again. The community disperses, some shaking their heads, others offering small nods of encouragement, but nobody is left unchanged by what they've witnessed. If you think this was the end of Lisa and Daniel's struggle, the next chapter will test their commitment in ways neither of them can predict. Lisa stands in the quiet aftermath, her body still trembling from the weight of the elders' words. The courtyard empties slowly, the whispers of the community fading into the distance, but the judgment lingers in the air, thick and impossible to ignore. For the first time since she arrived, Lisa feels completely powerless. The decision is no longer hers, no longer Daniel's, not even the uncle's. It belongs to the elders, to the family, to the traditions that have shaped this place for generations. She tries to steady her breathing, but the pressure in her chest only grows, a knot of fear and shame that refuses to loosen. Daniel watches her, torn between wanting to comfort her and knowing that nothing he says can change what's coming. He reaches for her hand, but Lisa pulls away, her face crumpling as the reality of their situation crashes over her. Tears spill down her cheeks, silent at first, then racking her body with sobs she can't control. She sinks to the ground, her arms wrapped around her knees, and lets herself fall apart in a way she never has before. All the strength she's tried to show, all the hope she's clung to, dissolves in the face of this final uncertainty. She's exhausted, humiliated, and terrified that nothing she does will ever be enough. Daniel kneels beside her, his own eyes shining with unshed tears. He whispers her name, tries to reassure her that they still have a chance, that the elders' decision isn't final, that they can prove themselves if they stay strong. But his words sound hollow, even to him. He knows how much is at stake, how much they've already lost, and he can't shake the fear that this is the end of everything they fought for. He wants to believe in love, in forgiveness, in the possibility of a new beginning, but the silence from the elders is deafening, and the uncertainty is almost too much to bear. The uncle stands apart, arms crossed, his face set in a mask of pride and resignation. He watches Lisa's breakdown with a mixture of frustration and pity, but he doesn't move to comfort her. Instead, he calls Daniel over, his voice low and serious. He tells Daniel that he's done all he can, that the rest is out of his hands, that the family's honor must come first. He warns Daniel that the elders will not be swayed by emotion, that they will judge Lisa by her actions, not her words. He reminds Daniel of the consequences if things go wrong, of the shame that could follow them for years, of the doors that might close forever if the elders decide against them. Daniel listens, torn between loyalty to his family and his love for Lisa. He tries one last time to plead their case, to convince his uncle that Lisa deserves forgiveness, that their love is worth fighting for. He promises to do whatever it takes, to follow every rule, to prove that they can honor the family's traditions while building a life together. The uncle listens, his expression softening just a little, but he shakes his head. He tells Daniel that some things are bigger than any one person, that the family's reputation is not his alone to protect or to risk. He says the elders' decision will be final, and that Daniel must be prepared to accept whatever comes next. Lisa wipes her tears, forcing herself to stand, her resolve hardening even as her heart aches. She looks at Daniel, searching his face for any sign of doubt, any hint that he might walk away. He meets her gaze, and for a moment, the world narrows to just the two of them, united against everything that stands in their way. But the uncertainty remains, a shadow that neither of them can escape. They know the meeting with the elders is coming, that their fate will be decided by people who may never truly understand them, who may never see past the mistakes and the secrets and the shame. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the courtyard, Lisa and Daniel walk back to the house in silence. Every step feels heavier than the last, every glance from the neighbors a reminder of how much they have to prove. Lisa's mind races with questions she can't answer. Will the elders see her as a person, or only as a problem? Will Daniel stand by her if the decision goes against them? Or will he choose his family over their future? The uncertainty gnaws at her, but she refuses to give up, not now, not after everything they've survived. Inside, the house is quiet, the tension thick enough to taste. Daniel's uncle sits at the table, his hands folded, his eyes fixed on the door. He tells them the elders will meet soon, that they must be ready to answer every question, to face every doubt, to prove themselves in ways they never imagined. He warns them that the community will be watching, that every word, every gesture will be judged. Lisa nods, her jaw set, her fear replaced by a stubborn determination. She knows the road ahead will be brutal, that forgiveness is never guaranteed, but she's ready to fight for her place, for her love, for the chance to start over. Daniel sits beside her, his hand finding hers, their fingers entwined in silent solidarity. They don't speak, but the message is clear. Whatever happens next, they'll face it together. The future is uncertain, the stakes higher than ever, but for the first time, Lisa feels a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they can survive this final test. If you're still holding your breath, you're not alone. The elders' judgment is coming, and everything hangs in the balance. Will Lisa finally earn forgiveness, or will tradition win out? Will Daniel choose love, or will loyalty to his family pull him away for good? Don't miss what happens next, because the real test is only beginning.